It's not a middle ground, it's just a proposed reconciliation. If you have a debate and there are two topics, one is fighting the other one, and you are reconciling them, that is the exact meaning of having a middle ground. Do you really think that practically in reality you would go on with this idea or this principle when you meet a real person who has raped someone? The other day, I was having a conversation with a friend. It was about the lack of empathy I noticed in someone, and we were just discussing the whole situation and that person. And after the whole bitching part comes the part where we end up with the argument that okay, but that's how everyone is conditioned, right? And the family they belong to is also like that, and the society also has so many elements like this. So every time I have a conversation that has the mention or element of human behavior, I do end up with this argument that do we really have a choice that is completely free of any influence, because there are so many things conditioning us and so many things influencing us at the same time. So, this is today's topic, free will, and does it exist? And if it does, where do the parts fit in where we are influenced by so many things? I can't talk about free will and not mention determinism. Free will versus determinism is a debate, and it is one of the central discussions in philosophy, especially ethics and metaphysics. So, this revolves around the question that do humans have the ability to make free, independent choices, or since everything is influenced by prior causes, so everything is determined, and if it is, then what do our choices matter? Let us first start by understanding these terms. So, free will means that we can make independent choices independent of external factors that could be biological, psychological, or environmental. The proponents of free will would believe that we can make decisions that are not predetermined by past choices or past events, so the like independent of these causes, right? So essentially we can make decisions that are different from what we actually made in the same circumstances. We would have ability of that, but there are some other elements that come in. So moral responsibility. So the reason that we hold ourselves accountable morally or others is because we think that our intentions and our decisions make a difference, right? You would say that murdering is wrong because we believe that this was a choice that was made by the murderer and it made a whole difference to the reality that would exist, the person who would be alive right now. But if the reality does not depend on the free will and decisions of that person, it was already predetermined that person would die and be killed, then how do we hold ourselves or others morally accountable? And based on this moral accountability, we have set up our legal and social structures. Where do they fit in? And the self determination, right? We speak so much about personal growth and how it is very important to develop, but where does it fit in? Because it doesn't matter what choices we make, right? If I wake up at 5 or I don't, doesn't matter, because everything is predetermined. What is my effort to grow gonna do for me? There are some counterpoints to free will, and my favorite is the illusion of choices. So some people believe that the choices that we talk about, these are an illusion, and this illusion is shaped by some external factors that influence us and prior events or experience. I have an example for it. It's the dating apps. So dating apps show us a very curated selection of profiles that is supposed to align with the user preferences, but they are just made by the algorithm based on the user behavior and demographics and the goals of profitability of that app. So why I'm calling the dating apps an illusion of choices? So people believe that they are making free choice to match with anyone they want to, But the app has already ranked, filtered, and presented the profiles that they decided, right? And after that, even the swiping process, right, it is influenced by so many factors like the conventional beauty standards or the social markers or the cultural norms. जैसे लोग कहते हैं कि लड़कियां तो होती नहीं हैं ऐप पर, और लड़कों की हाइट अगर 6 से ऊपर हो तो इट मेक्स ऑल द डिफरेंस फॉर देम, या फिर वेकेशन पिक्स और कार पिक्स पे जज किया जाता है. फॉर द सेक ऑफ इट, इफ आई से इट इन अ मोर सोफिस्टिकेटेड वे, यूजर्स प्रेफरेंसेस are knowingly or unknowingly influenced by so many things that are preconditioned in them. Now let's talk about determinism. So determinism is the idea that every event in the universe, including human actions, our choices and decisions, they are a result of prior causes. So according to this, the choices and decisions that we take, they are influenced by something that was a past event. It could be environmental, biological, or a past experience that we've had. So this basically means that every human action or decision, it also follows the chain of cause and effect. And if it does, then in principle everything should be predictable, including our choices. Now that we have both the terms with us, so here comes the incompatibilism. As the name suggests, it means that two things are not compatible, and those two things are free will and determinism. So some determinists argue that if everything is caused by a prior cause, so how can our choices be free? How can our will be free when the thing that we are making decision about is already predetermined? So they call these two mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive means two things that are not able to exist together simultaneously, so they are contradictory in nature. Now what we need is a middle ground, and this middle ground we have, it's called compatibilism. So it basically says that free will and the determinism, they can be reconciled and they are not mutually exclusive. We can bring them together because even though our actions are highly influenced by prior causes, we do have free will in the sense that we can act based on our own desires, intentions, or deliberations. So, what compatibilism does is it redefines free will. So, free in free will means that we are free from any constraints or any coercions. So, the actions that we take, they are influenced by several things, but still our desires are something that we take action on. So we are morally accountable because there's a lever that is required to be pulled. Even though we have desires that could be influenced by several past experiences, we still do make the decision. So there's an example I have for this. You're eating an apple, you decided I'm gonna eat an apple. There are several things that influence this decision, right? Season कौन सा चल रहा है, and are the apples good ones, or do you like apples? Were your past experiences eating apple good? The city you live in, what kind of apples do they have? There's hundreds of things that could make a difference in your decision. But even though there are so many things influencing your decision, you did make the decision. It was your choice to eat the apple or not. So this debate of free will versus determinism, it brings up some very fundamental questions about the nature of humans or morality. And I feel like accountability, it is so important. It's already pretty less. So definitely you cannot go with determinism as the only flag in your hand and go around telling that, you know, we don't need accountability. What does it matter if everything is already predetermined? It does matter, right? So if someone asks you what is your favorite position, say compatibilism, because accountability is so important. We just need to look at free will from a different perspective, a different lens. The only lens that it was seen with was consequential and determinism, right? We were only talking about free will, how it is a consequence of prior event, or the consequence that free will have becoming a factor for another event. So we just needed to change the lens that we are seeing free will with. For a change, my camera is still charged, and I actually posted a video that was about free will versus determinism on Instagram. And I have some comments. I thought it would be fun to read them right now. Free will is the greatest culprit ever envisioned, since it begins with the assumption of ego. I don't understand this. How is wanting autonomy and a control and view of your own actions and decisions a ego based beginning? It's not a middle ground, it's just a proposed reconciliation. If you have a debate and there are two topics, one is fighting the other one, and you are reconciling them, that is the exact meaning of having a middle ground. It's beautifully put in scientific language how we live a hardly determined life and posits the inexistence of morality, pride, etc. He beautifully goes on to show the paradox of how a rapist is no different from a guy who does $1 million charity. In reality, you would go on with this idea or this principle. When you meet a real person who has raped someone, you definitely would not, and if you do, then there is something wrong with you. So that was it. Not many comments. Thanks for watching my video.